We have a 1 hour 1 hour slot, 1 hour 15 minutes,
Okay,
1 hour 15 minutes now. Okay,
one
one
hour
hour
15 minutes.
15 minutes including everything. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm setting a timer. Otherwise, I will start talking and it will never end.
Okay.
Once again, reset. Yes.
Set the one.
Okay. Uh, please, when you are ready, just give me a
Again,
cue.
Ariful, like I will take a exit. Uh, Hello everyone, welcome to Art House Asia. We are little bit in awkward position to introduce our first business of cinema session. We thank Walter and Agnes and Arifur for joining into this session, and thank you everyone who is watching live on Facebook and inside the auditorium. Um, so let's begin, and I will just take a exit. I'm
Thank
here,
you,
but
Shapam.
like
Thank you so much. Hey, welcome. First of all, I'm super excited. I told you too earlier, like I was so excited to host this conversation, but I was telling to Agnes, this will be a very like casual talking. It's like having tea and coffee and exploring cinemas. But somehow I'm hearing my own voice. It's echoing, so it's a little complicated for me to talk. Anyway, I will adapt because I'm a producer, so I know how to make things. So welcome, Walter and Agnes, and I want to say welcome to the audience also. Thanks who are listening from online and also physically from the huge cinema hall in Kolkata, India. So first, I want to tell a little bit about Walter. So he was a former head of film programming of the Oscar qualifying festival, Go Short Film Fest, and now he is founder and he's running successfully the sales company called Square Eyes, and this is he's running from 2013. And so many things I think we will explore during the conversation. And second, I would love to introduce Agnes. She is a part of a really a great festival. It's the oldest festival in the Baltic states, and this is Riga International Short Film Festival. And now you also like uh, program feature film also, right, Agnes?
No,
No,
we
only
actually
short.
have just short films, and we have special
Midland.
Midland. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So this is a great chance for the short filmmakers, and also I will connect the feature filmmakers mostly who wants to do their first feature film just after the short film, or maybe at the same time they're preparing for the feature film and like just finished the short film. So these kind of directors and writers, they have a huge chance to know more about future of their first short film from Walter and Agnes. So my first question, I have a couple of questions, and I'm so excited, like which one I should ask first. But the first one, the very common question from all the filmmakers, from the young independent filmmakers, like, I just finished my first short film. What is next? So it's an open questions to you two all. Anyone can start.
Okay, I can.
Yeah.
Okay. So if you just finish a film, you can look through the festivals you want to submit the film, and just I don't know, submit the film. It's the first thing you can do. And if you have a distribution company, of course, they can do for you. But well, I think it's very exciting when you have first film, and you just put it in a different festival hands and hope that they will select your film, and it's good.
Yeah, as you two, mostly you two have the similar kind of experience, because Walter was also the head of a festival. So, is there any like festival strategy which we should follow even before going to the shoot, or maybe when we start writing? Then, is there anything we should point out, like for the festival, future festival run for the short film? Yeah.
Yeah, I can maybe say something about that. So, like when I talk to a film team in the beginning, Agnes, I think it's the echo is from you because you have it on speakers. Could you?
Yes, I have speakers.
Yeah, so we hear ourselves, I think, through your microphone. So could you mute your microphone? I think then the
Okay,
echo
okay, go ahead. Yes.
would be gone. Let's see if this works. So, okay, I think it's better. So the first thing I always do when I talk to teams is really, what do you want to try to achieve with your film? Like, do you think it will be a film for the big festivals? Maybe you're working, like you said, on a feature project, so you want to make sure that with your short, you maybe introduce your name to programmers from feature festivals. Maybe you just want to have a good career and play in a lot of festivals. Like all these things you can kind of think about. And this is a thing you can already think about in an early stage. Like if you know I'm going to shoot a film and it will be finished after the summer, you can already think about like, okay, what will be coming up around that time that I could send my film to. I would never try to think too much about this while writing a film. Like you're not writing a film for a festival, you're writing a film because you want to make that film. So don't make a film because you watched all the films in Cannes for the past years and you think like this is the type of film they would select. But as a producer, it's really around the time that you know, okay, at that point the film will be finished. We can look at what festivals would take place then, so that you are prepared, that you know that, okay, when the film is finished, we can immediately try this, or you can already talk to some film festivals beforehand. So for you played with a film that you produced in Venice before. Let's say you would produce a new film that's finished around May, June, then you know, oh, that's right in time again for Venice. So you could already talk to the people you've met there, just to let them know, hey, I'm working on a new project. We already have a relationship. I would love to play at your festival. Same with, like, I've had some films that played at Tuanas. I would just get in touch with Agnes or one of her colleagues and be like, hey, we have this film. It would be finished around this time of the year. The festival now moved again a bit, right? So you can always like kind of talk and let people know this project is coming up. So that's always a good thing and an easy thing that you can do as a filmmaker yourself in terms of strategy, to really think about like, okay, when the film is finished, what's coming up and what can I already do at this stage to kind of prepare for that moment. Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
no, go ahead, Agnes, go ahead.
Yeah, this private connections is very good in our industry because, of course, the main thing is the submission timeline. Like when is the deadline for the submissions, and afterwards it's very hard to get the film in. The festival will be in April, so we already finished the submissions, so we know the films already. Some of the films, some are on the way. But the thing is, the personal connections always works, and this is very good opportunity to go to the festivals and make sure you know people from other festivals you can contact with when you need it.
Yeah, I was. You want to tell something, Walter?
No. I was agreeing with Agnes. Yeah.
Okay, so I was just surfing your website. I mean, Tuana's International Short Film Festival's website, and I saw a couple of words that I put mark. One is like they're looking for like new language, theme, and new means of expression. So these particular words actually for a new filmmaker, for a debut short filmmaker, it's really hard for them to communicate. So can you express a little bit about those phrases, like what is the points that we can follow when we are making films about the language of films? Because it's a like holistic language, but at the same time it's different for every filmmaker, and this is also different for every festival, because every festival has its own strategy, policy, and I think it's a little bit complicated thing. So maybe you can make it more clear to us, like how you choose films when you program some short films. When you decide, like, yes, this is the film, it has a different language, it has a different style, what is different than the other general films, quote unquote?
Okay, so we have already some years with us Laima, which is program director, and she's watching all the films through and looking for those great films to show in our festival. And what is important that there are sometimes there are some cliches. For example, the films which starts with the bathroom scene or or something like that, and this sometimes it's like, it's so common sometimes. And she watched through so much films, and there was like, I saw 10 of them, like, and this is the common thing. But if she saw some kind of bathroom scene which is differently shown, then maybe it will be this new language that we are searching for. Because like we already like we don't want to see the same thing, the same cliches all the time, but there are many topics which are the same, but you can show it in different ways. So the thing is, what we are looking in films is the uniqueness of the film. And second of all, Laima is very interested in new directors, like directors she never heard before, or films she never seen before in other festivals. So this is also one thing, not just the popular films, but the films which are we haven't seen it, but they are great and you must see. So you can see it in our festival because Lama worked hard for that.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Yes, fair enough. Yeah, I think it's more clear now, because I can also tell, like, most of the first time filmmaker, uh, I don't know why they really love to deal with suicide. You know, the scene starts like someone is trying to suicide. I don't know why, but this is a very common trend. So I totally got your point, like what you are searching for, what is uniqueness, because every story is already told. So that means we need something which is already told, but still there is something that is untold. So
You just
yeah.
want to see, I think, kind of the signature of a director in the work. So it's like there's every year there's love stories, like boy meets girl love stories, but still, if you're a strong director, you can give your own twist to that, or you can add something to the story we already know. So, like, for instance, myself, I'm also always looking for filmmakers that kind of have a different way of storytelling for the filmmakers that I work with. But then at the same time, some films that I work with are in a way maybe a more classical story, but they just work. So at the Art House Film Festival now, I have, for instance, this film, I'm Afraid to Forget Your Face, that won the Palme d'Or this year in Cannes. And in a way, it's somewhat of a classic theme that the film is dealing with, but you really see that the director has a really unique take on it, and that he's really strong in how he tells the narrative. So I think you really just look for what Agnes also said, like you're looking for new directors, you're looking for interesting voices. You really just hope to kind of discover somebody that you can see in this short film already, that this is really a director you want to watch, and that will convince audiences everywhere. Yeah.
Got it. I have specific questions about sales strategy, but I will come a little bit later. Before that, I really want to know, like, there is two different kind of like box we can tick. Like one is a particular story from a particular land, and at the same time, it could be a story from that land, but it's very subtle any we don't understand the culture, the locality from that movie. It's totally a story about a relationship, and these relationship stories can be from Latvia or maybe from Afghanistan or from Bangladesh or from like Riga, doesn't matter. So is it a like important like notion for a short film where you all the programmer look for the cultural traits and locality, or like no, only the emotional connection of the characters?
We never look at a specific country or something like that. It's always all about the film. It's all about the film and film strength and place in a festival time. Because when we make film selections, there is usually, for example, international 5 programs, and they are very connected in some way together in this one program. So it's very good if it's diverse from different countries and different point of views at the same, for example, for the same team, like for the same idea. But it's never about the country. It's about the film and how it's looked together and how it's like.
Yeah, and maybe to add to that, like I do have to say that you always want to, what Agnieszka said, like have a diverse program. So, for instance, in Europe, France is like a really strong production country. They just have a lot of money for short films. So you could make a film festival easy with only French films and then still have quite a high quality program. But you don't want to do that. So you're always looking to have kind of a balance in countries. So in that way, if you select this film from India, for instance, then you're hoping that then in a way that film kind of represents India in your program. So for instance, in the Netherlands, I talked a lot with students and they often want to make a film and do it in English so that it's more international, to have people speak English. But I'm always like, no, if people program you, they program you because you're a Dutch film. So you shouldn't try to make it more accessible for a bigger audience by kind of using a different language or something. You're also choosing to kind of give us a look of the Netherlands in a way. So it's always important to have these kind of cultural things also in it, because it's also a way for us to kind of show people other different cultures or different ways of filmmaking. But it's important that you always think of that it doesn't become too cultural specific, that it doesn't translate. So that's something, for instance, that you see a lot with comedies. Humor is really like a national thing. I remember I was in a film festival in Eastern Europe somewhere. I don't remember what festival it was. And I think it was in Poland, in the Warsaw Film Festival. And I saw a Hungarian fiction comedy. And everybody was cracking up, and I didn't get any of the jokes. Like I didn't like the humor at all. And then you really felt that it's this kind of maybe more Eastern Europe kind of sensibility to humor. So this is the tricky thing, that if you become too specific, or maybe it's about a topic that's really well known in your country, but outside of your country not. So how do you translate the story without it becoming unclear for people? So often you see maybe that there's thematics in it, like love, friendship, blah, 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 that are universal, and then it's embedded in this local story that's really specific for where the filmmaker is from or where the story is based. But you really always have to keep that in balance, that you are able to reach audience in your country and also reach an audience on the other side of the world, possibly.
Yeah, great answer already I have got. So going back to the sales strategy, before that, I have one specific question for Walter. Like, when you were a programmer and now your point of view, I think change a little bit, because it's a totally different game now, because sales for the filmmaker like us, for the independent filmmaker, it's the toughest game, like the market the short film. It's like insane. It's recoup the money, it's like never happen. So how we should do the strategy like for sales? And as you already have, like two steps on two different ships, like one is programming a festival, short film festival, and another one is like sales, which is mostly shorts and also features. So yeah, so you can make it more.
So the when I started Some Shorts and now Square Eyes, I really brought that kind of festival perspective. And also my taste is informed by my festival programming. So the films I work with are films that I like. And films that I like are often films that are a bit more cinematic and more meant for the big screen, maybe a bit more challenging. And if you look at what sellable, it's not exactly that. Like, it's a bit more clear narratives, appealing for a wider audience. It can be nudity in it, can't be too difficult. So it's so when I look at films, I'm always thinking about firstly the festival potential, and then if I think a film could be really working well for sales, then I often actually get a sales agent on board with the project that's really specific on the sales. And with the other films, I kind of do it as well, but I really, with Square Eyes, aim firstly for the festival potential. And then because I really look at a film, do I think it could play a lot of festivals? And then some of the films I have earned their money with awards. So right now I work with a filmmaker that hasn't worked the past year because he was able to live from the short film, the awards that it was generating. I think it won between 20 to 30,000 euro. So it's I'm looking more to kind of generate value through festivals. If you talk about sales, so like every year, for instance, to Clermont-Ferrand, there's 10,000 films being sent. So I estimate that there's even a bit more being made every year. So then films that I would say have a big potential for festivals, let's say that's 100. And then let's say that films that are really sellable are even less. So then you go towards like 50 or 40. So having a film that earns a lot of money, it's just like, if you look at the numbers, that's already difficult. There's not a lot of televisions buying films. They aren't buying a lot of short films, and they're buying a really specific type of short film. So it's kind of just looking at the odds, it's really difficult to make a film, and what you said, to even break even with the production cost if you hope for sales. So with a short film, I would always try not to keep that too much in mind. And then even like, for instance, I worked with a couple of films that won the main prize in Cannes. Some of those films, with all of them, we had a different sales agent on board, and we knew that they would be difficult to get sold. And we even got rejected by some television stations, for instance. And then when we won the Palme d'Or, that's the moment that they came back to us and were like, okay, but because of that, we're more interested. So it's so that's how difficult it is. Like, even films that could win like the main prize in the world almost for films are still not fitting for being bought for television and things like that. So it's just difficult, and because it's so difficult, that's really why I decided I want to bring this perspective from a festival and really look at films like that, instead of going for films that I know will sell. And that's actually not really my taste in films often. That's more commercial films, and I find that less interesting. So both with the features and short films that I work with, I always really try to follow my taste. Also to be able to be, if I'm trying to sell this film to somebody that I'm really enthusiastic about the film, that I really believe in the film, that I understand why you should program this film. And then if you compare that to my work when I was working in festivals, I think the biggest difference there is that I have a lot of films that I turn down for my company to work with, that I do like, and that in a film festival I would be able to give them a spot because we have more places to program films in, and it would work better in a context with different films. But that I know, working with that film as a for festivals and stuff, I don't think I can deliver what they hope for. So sometimes I'm a bit more strict with the films that I take, because I take so few films, than that I would be in a festival. So in a festival, you really try to give talents a platform, and with my company I also try to do that, but I'm also trying to really pick the films that I think have like really big potential for festivals. So it's kind of like another level of being critical with the films, I think. Yeah.
Wow, perfect. It's pretty clear. I have a couple of questions for Agnes. I'm so curious to know, when you select a film, uh, we know different kind of phrase for films, like non-commercial, art house, independent. So we categorize films in different names. So I'm so curious about that. Like, is it a matter like to select when you are selecting any films? Is there any category, like which category this film will go on, and then you select, or like no, you just in general watch films and then you decide, like this festival called Art House Asia Film Festival, so it's pretty clear, this is art house quote unquote films, but I'm so curious to know, like, is there any proper division of films?
Well, actually, no. It doesn't. We select experimentals sometimes. We shown experimentals, and we shown also the films which are screened like good films that were around the world already with the festivals. So it's not like we don't we don't do this boxing thing. We just select the films we like, and they work for us. And for example, what we have competition program, but we also have this focus. Focus is the specially made programs with the specific team. This year it will be the Earth, so films about the Earth and the different kind of things you can think about that. So we have already like 5 programs which are specially curated for this team, and they are very intriguing actually, and we are really excited to show you those programs because they are in this interesting they are not in the competition, but they will be screened at the festival. So this is the box we do, the only box we do. This is the team for the festival, and this is the thing. But otherwise we have screened the films which are totally artistic, and we have screened the films that are more mainstream also. So there is no right way to choose. Like for us, it just, if it's good, it will be there.
Okay, and another thing I mostly face from the filmmaker from this region, like they got some brilliant ideas and they don't have proper resources and financial support, so they just go for it. They just make the film. So to program that kind of film, I mean, which is not proper, like quote unquote, not proper quality maintained. I mean, in terms of camera and sound and other things, but still you can feel the heart of the film uh, through the stories. So in that case, is it make any difference or not?
Well, it could have some kind of qualities, so get into the festival, of course. But then sometimes there are films which are like specially made like that. or it's an accident that they are like this lower quality, but it makes sense. So there is a thin line between this bad quality in sound or picture thing, or the artistic side of that. So, well, you always can try to submit the film. We watch all the films actually. So
Yeah, yeah. So that means like nowadays all the young filmmakers they're uh, eager to make films through their phones. I mean, like iPhones and small devices, and they're doing good. And I think this will cross the border of the festival, which is like A-list festival, and at the same time it will act their films also, because they don't have like bigger camera, but they have uh, like iPhone at least, so they can use that, right, for any festival.
well, there are specific festivals who go for that kind of films specifically. So many festivals where you can find this niche for your film directly. Where you can be accepted as well. Of course, we are looking for quality, and sometimes with the mobile phone, it's not the case usually. However, nowadays phones are very good. The cameras are very good. We can't tell if you doesn't say me that I filmed this with my phone. Maybe I wouldn't know. So,
Yeah.
I think the most difficult thing with all of this is that you kind of like, you have to imagine as a festival you get like a few thousand films submitted, and that you kind of pick this film out. So it's, you're watching it, you're seeing a film that maybe technically isn't so strong as some of the other films that you already put on the short list for the festival, and that you then kind of give it the time and really have the story resonate with you. And I think that's the most tricky thing, because people are like, in really busy periods you're watching like 30-40 films a day, and then it's just difficult, I think, to find these films. But it's also like kind of, you have to invest in this as a festival. Like the festival I worked with was focused on only European films. But if I look at festivals that, for instance, also that program worldwide, I'm always thinking like, oh my God, like you hardly see films from the African continent. Also from the Asian continent, there's certain countries that you see more films from. But for instance, like if you look at India, there's not that many films each year that really travel to festivals. While I assume that there's a lot of films being made. So it's also kind of investing in building a taste for these films, and kind of being able to see which filmmakers are good, maybe without the production budgets, but who are able to tell that story that resonates with audiences. So it's also kind of like on the programming side, maybe patience, and also kind of investing time in it, and that's difficult because, like when I was programming for the first 5 years, we didn't get paid for the programming. It was all in our free time. So then, really putting in that time is difficult to really put in that attention. I think now with a lot of festivals having entry fees, it becomes better because people are getting paid and they do require to watch the film. But that's always kind of a balance, that you know that everybody's overworked at festivals, and that you want to give these films the proper time and proper attention. So it's like always a tricky thing. Yeah.
So for Walter, like we know the term like big festival, small festival thing, and how important is for sales for a particular short films to get a festival? Because I know some film that failed on the A-class festival to get in, and then somehow it went in a very like boutique festival, very nice festival, and then after that all the other festivals also opened for them, and then slowly they got the sales agent also, and they got really like, good attention throughout the world. So it's And I'm just curious, like, is it a like real example, or like this could be a strategy also for sales,
Yeah.
to get sales?
Yes. So what you say about there's big and small festivals, like that's already a tricky one, because you have the A-list festivals, which are A-list festivals for features. And then because of the features, they are so well known. So like Cannes, Venice, Berlin, Locarno. And because of that, the short film sections are also important because it's such a big festival. So I also always try to go for these festivals first if I think the film is strong enough, just because I know that for a director, this is a really important thing to get into. But then actually all the festivals after that, I think, are more important for the festival's career, meeting people, maybe winning awards. And that's the big festivals within short film. So the big short film festivals. So in a way, those are small
Right.
festivals to some people, but actually, like screening at a Go Short, to Annas, Encounters, like in Europe, these festivals, like Busan is then probably like the big one, for instance, in Asia. But then you would have like Singapore, for instance. That's an interesting one. You have in Japan, Short Shots, Sapporo, like festivals like this. These are all, I think, where you can get a lot from. So about what you said, getting into an A-list festival, of course, is just easier in the way of that really clearly jumpstarts your career. You're one of 10 films in Venice. You're one of 10 films in the main competition in Cannes. So if you get into there, sales agents will watch your film and possibly work with it. But if you don't have that, like I have a couple of films that didn't have that went on to screen at like 150 festivals, that we also premiered at a good short film festival. And just throughout the run, we got into all the good short film festivals. We also got sales for that film. So it's really not that if you don't have the other one, that it's not possible. It's just that it's easier. So also for me, I also read that somebody posted a comment about like these like entry fees and things like that. Like for me, having a big festival connected to your film means that it will probably be cheaper to submit the film to festivals. Like you had a film in Venice, then you can knock on people's door and say like, hey, this film was in Venice. Would you be curious to see it? And it's a bit easier than that you say, hey, we played in these festivals that are less prestigious to get it. So I think it's just like, if you have a good film and you don't have a A-list festival premiere, which happens a lot, short film programmers and programmers for other festivals will still see that this is a good film that they want to program. And like getting sales and stuff like that, you just have to approach these people. So if you get into the big festival, they approach you. If you don't have that, you have to be a bit more proactive. But that's the thing. As long as you put in the time and energy, I think your chances are the same, almost. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the answer you gave, I mean, this is the people, the young filmmaker who are watching, it's a great learning for them, because we all filmmakers first always think about, you know, the quote unquote A-list festival, which is actually for feature film. And then, you know, it's a kind of shadowed thing, the 10, 12, and after pandemic, the number is like going down and down and down. Like it's really, it's tough. So it will be a great strategy for this kind of filmmakers to focus on, you know, the pure short film festival, which can give a great future for the shorts. I have another.
And I also, maybe it's good to add that like you don't need to have somebody well-known connected to the film. Like you don't need a distributor to get into these big festivals. Like I worked with a couple of films that got into Cannes that didn't have anybody connected to the film when they got selected, and then afterwards people came on board. So I think a lot of people have this feeling that I won't be able to get into a big festival or in festivals at all if I don't have a distributor, if I don't have a sales agent. That's definitely not true. It's really like, if the film is good, people will see this, and you don't need me connected to it. Like, I even think that for some films, like films in my catalog are competing with each other because a festival won't program 15 films from me that year. So in a way, they are each other's competition. So in some cases, I even say to directors, I think you're better off doing it by yourself, because within my catalog, maybe it wouldn't work because I already have these 2 films that I think are similar and would compete with you. So it's don't think that you need these people, and if you want to get somebody on board that would do this for you, just get in contact with them. Everybody that I know that's doing sales or festivals gets films sent to them all the time. This is also how I find films every now and then. So don't be afraid to just then send your film to a sales agent and ask, like, hey, would this be something that you could work with? Yeah.
So from Asian perspective, because this conversation title, like Business of Film, where is my audience, developing new strategies for South Asian filmmaker mostly. So if any South Asian filmmaker wants to approach you as a sales agent, like I'm just taking you as a case, like any new filmmaker who has no like experience of making films, and he or she is a first timer, and confidently make a film, and got the courage to approach you as a sales agent. And this question also related to Agnes, because the second part of the question is like, are you prefer someone who is approaching directly, or like who is approaching you through a sales agent or a distributor? So which one is more like reliable for you, Agnes? And the first part of the question is like, if anyone approach Walter, what will be your reaction? Yeah, like as a fresher coming the approach.
So for me, it's everybody can email me. Like, I get around 2 short films a day. I'm watching everything. I mean, like, because I'm not a festival, I don't have an obligation to filmmakers. So I have films that I watch for a minute and then realize this is not for me. Like today, I got a documentary that I watched. I skipped through it, but I saw that it's quite a classical TV, more oriented documentary, and that's not the type of film I work with. So then I always email back like, hey, sorry, this is not really the style of films that I work with. So everybody can just approach me. I'm like thinking about the Asian directors that I've worked with. Like, I'm working with a Vietnamese director now for 2 of his films. I just came on board with a Thai filmmaker. All of them I approached, but it's because they got selected in a bigger festival, and that's how I found out about the film. But I think that in the past I have been emailed just by directors. Like, for me, it doesn't really matter where they come from. If it's a good film, it's a good film. Like, in a way, having a South Asian director email me, I would be happy, because I'm not working with South Asian filmmakers, for instance. Like, there's Indian directors that I, for instance, wanted to work with really badly. Like, I wanted to work with Tungrus, the short documentary about chicken. Like, Payal was a director. All her work I always liked a lot. So I would be happy if somebody approaches me and I discover a good film through that. So yeah, everybody can email me. I'm always watching the films. There's not really, like what Agnes said before, you're always looking for new voices, and it would be great if I get on board so early that I can really help somebody kickstart the career of that film. So yeah.
Yeah, it's always exciting. It's always exciting when you find something very good, and it's turned out to be very good.
Yeah.
It's a eureka moment. But for festival, for us, yes, we have a lot of emails during submission time. Even before we announce submission, we have a lot of emails about my film. I want you to show my film and everything like that. We usually collect all those emails, like collect those films, and but since we have the main platform for us is Film Freeway, from where we select the films, we usually sorry if somebody didn't get that email, but we usually email them back that please select it through the Film Freeway, because this will be the main way where the selection committee will watch the films, and the main way where we can select the films. Of course, we collect all the films which are not selected but send us to us, but they are the last ones to watch, because the main thing is Film Freeway platform. So yes, we look through them. It's hard because it's a lot. Our festival got a lot of submissions, and we watch them through. But sometimes it's like in Film Freeway, if you know, you can see how much of your film is seen, right? I think you can see it. I don't know. No,
No, I'm
really?
happy that you can see that. No.
I'm so scared that it's seen, but we watch it anyway. We watch through whole film, but the thing is about the films which are submitted for from the email. Sometimes it's like you already see the bathroom scene, and you already know what's gonna happen next, and it's like a cliche and everything. But I can say truly, we watch through all the films are submitted or sent to us, even if we didn't email back, because it's a lot. We had a lot of films, but I would really advise to select in a proper way to the festival, because it's the way we work firstly from the platform. And so this is the only advice I can give.
I was listening and I muted my mic. This is a city called the city of mosque, Dhaka. So the Azan is going on. I think we should put some light on the distribution and market of short film after pandemic, because the situation is totally changed, and the strategy actually we followed earlier, it's the time to change it now. Otherwise, because it's a kind of traffic jam situation. All the filmmakers, even during the pandemic, they made a hell amount of short films, because they don't have any other works. They just think idea, and they just produced films. So after the pandemic, especially for you two, like in two different sections, distribution in different festivals, and also like for market the films for different sales agents to get on board. So how they should approach and change the strategy in this change case, pandemic?
Well, for us, I don't think will be any different, because we have worked this way and selected the films, and well, yeah, we were afraid that there will be less films because of the situation that you can't go out and can't shoot, you can't just do nothing. But in this case, of course, directors start to make films about COVID situation. So this is something a bit the same team, but it works sometimes. But I think nothing really gonna change for us. Like, we will select films, and this epidemic situation that just shown that films are made and submitted for us. So
yeah, for Walter.
Yeah, so the biggest change is, I think, like everything moving online. So in a way of where before the pandemic, people were really careful with putting anything online. That border has blurred a bit. Like now, people do it in festivals that you go online. Like we even had a couple of films that premiered online worldwide, because Locarno at that point decided to go worldwide with the film. Looking into the future, I think more festivals will maybe have this online aspect to it, this hybrid thing. And there's more and more VOD platforms popping up.
Yeah.
But the biggest problem with all of this that I have is that if you look at the money, not much is changing. So if a festival suddenly adds an online aspect to their normal part of the festival, like what is in that for the filmmaker? All of these online platforms that now are starting, sometimes, like recently I got approached by a platform that would give you like 1 cent per view, but you would only get paid when they reach 10,000 viewers with your short.
Oh,
So,
wow.
So in the end, it's kind of like, as a filmmaker, you're giving your film away to these platforms, but you're not sure if you're getting anything in return. And that's the thing, like there's more and more platforms popping up, but not many of them seem viable in a way financially. I think now the newest platform for short film would be Argo. So ARGO. That's run, I think it's like Silicon Valley kind of thing. They pay for the short films to be on there. It doesn't have to be exclusive, and if it's exclusive, they can even pay a bit more sometimes. Like I didn't think they were paying a lot, but then still, compared to other online platforms, this is already quite a good thing what they're doing. So I think online will become more a thing, but at the moment I haven't yet seen it becoming financially more interesting. So compared to before the pandemic, at the moment it's maybe just as easy to keep your film offline as it was before, because you're not getting money for it. So keeping it exclusive could just be as interesting. I think that what's the same as before is that still having a good festival connected to your film increases the value. So the fact that if you get into Cannes, you have more chances to get more money from like an online platform. If you've played at 100 festivals without an A-list festival, but you played at 100 festivals, that will still have a good impact on your film if you want to sell it. So it's not like before that now it suddenly becomes more interesting to not play at festivals at all and just go online. I think the money is not there yet, and I think that festivals really have an added value for a director.
Yeah, I would like to add for this online situation that, of course, all the films, especially new ones, are precious to the director and the festivals as well. And we have to also be careful with this online situation. Of course, we want to show the film, but we won't just leave the film online. So for the duration of the festival, for example, for us, I believe it will be just for Latvian public, just for this week. You can see those films, and that is it. Afterwards, you can, if you find something very great, you will find the film and see where it else go, and which festival also select the film. And it's very important that the film can live after the multiple online festivals, and it's still can be like a exclusive thing when you can see it. So this is the thing we as a festival have to think about. We can't just put it out there and everybody can see it like worldwide. If it's not the premiere, of course, and the big festival, then it's different. But we, as a festival, we have this we have to think about that, and we do.
Yes, and it was quite interesting conversation, but I actually put my timer on, so it's almost 1 hour. But I have a couple of more questions before Shaputs like come and stop us. So because we all are from like the South Asian region, and I know thousands of filmmakers, they are making films, but I think somehow there is something missing to be selected in different festivals and get sales agent on board. Some maybe some lack of knowledge or maybe some communication things. So Walter was talking about the Indian films that actually not going much further in terms of festivals. So can you tell me a little bit about the reason, like why they are making films but the films are not going further? What do you think? Like, why it's happening?
Yeah, like in some cases, I think maybe the film is not strong enough to really play in a lot of festivals. But like, let's assume that the films are strong. I think it's more about maybe like we're kind of privileged. We are like super Eurocentric in our thinking, and in Europe there's so many festivals. So if I would only look at Europe, I can already do like a successful festival strategy because there's so many festivals happening. And I can imagine that if you're based in South Asia, that maybe you don't have the same knowledge as we have from, for instance, the European continent when it comes to festivals. And there's a lot of money in Europe with prizes and stuff like that. So there's quite a good reason to submit to festivals there, just because you can make money in that way. Like I've also worked with American directors that also don't know about Europe. Because in America, the festival scene is really different. None of the prizes are with money. Festivals don't pay for your film. So there's less reason to submit. So I could imagine that that's a thing that people are maybe don't know enough about the other parts, that the information is not there. And maybe it's also in the way of that the programmers don't have the right knowledge to program some films, that we just don't see enough. Like I've seen films that I don't like, but that are apparently really showing the type of filmmaking that is happening in that country. But I am just not able to read the visual language of that country, of that filmmaking tradition. I have it with some African films that I saw, that I saw it and that I then think like, oh, it's too much, it's too big, the acting and everything. And then I'm speaking with the filmmakers, and then I'm realizing that this is a more common way of acting there. So I'm always informed by my European vision, instead of that I saw a lot of films that come from South Asia and then see the films and can relate that to the filmmaking tradition. So it could be that we are just too much embedded in this European view, or maybe in this American view, and that some of the films don't translate for these festivals in that way. And that's something I think we as festival programmers have to work on. Also me as a distributor, like I have films that I also in that way don't understand because I don't get the visual language. So I could imagine that that's quite a big barrier in the end for these films to really travel, that people don't have the knowledge to understand the film and to read it. Yeah.
And I'd love to know your opinion about South Asian films, Agnes.
Well, we have found some good ways to screen them in the festival. So I totally agree with Walter about this not understanding sometimes, or the type of acting. Sometimes we don't understand. We don't like it maybe, but it's not about always not about us. We have to always think about audience as well. So if we like Eastern Europeans don't understand that kind of film, that we like, maybe audience also wouldn't understand it. But still, we have found it a very nice films from Asian countries, and so we have screened them, and so there are ways to make a good film from Asia. And so, well, I can't. Walter so much told so much about this situation, because this is how it works. It's like what we understand. We work through ourselves, and the same thing. We have to think about the audience, and not everything is transparent from different. This is the same thing about the humor, you know.
Yes.
English humor and Russian humor, totally two different things, yeah. And maybe what's funny is in India, it's not funny in
Not at all.
Right. So we are usually have to be open-minded when we watch the films before show them to the audience. And sometimes there are just great marbles which come out. So there are some, for example, the Tungurs, Rishi Chandra films. It was so great. But it's in the same time, yeah, it's not so easy to get to Europe, to get into Europe. But in the same time, what Walter said, you have to have somebody who can tell you. For example, what should you do? What festivals are good? Where can start? You just can't like sending your films in 2,000 festivals. Didn't know about anything about them. So you have to make your research and your understanding whether this festival is good for my film. They will understand or they won't. So, and also the A-lists, of course, everybody reach for the stars, but I totally agree that for short films, you have to start with the short film festivals. So there is a little start for that.
Yes, and I think we have to conclude, because they have a film next coming within 10 minutes. But I really want to take a chance to have at least one or two tips for the short filmmakers to get more, like festivals and markets. So do you have anything to tell to the young independent filmmakers from like Asia and maybe the global filmmakers also?
Well, one thing I said already is research. Research where you want to go, what is the niche for your film. And there are so many festivals which are like phone filmed festivals, or specific to Jews festivals, or specific everything. We have actually a lot of the things. For example, Green Film Festival, which is like for. So you have festivals are so many, and don't waste your time on just clicking on all the festivals you see in the first page of, I don't know, Film Freeway, but do your research, and of course,
Yes.
I think this is the main thing I can suggest to the filmmakers.
And Walter?
Yeah, so for me, it's I always say try to at least submit to like 40 or 50 festivals. Don't give up after submitting to 10 festivals and you get rejections, because you really need to submit to a bit more to get a proper ID if your film works. Don't only look for film festivals on like Film Freeway and Short Film Depot. Those are the festivals that get a lot of submissions, and film festivals that are not on there usually get less, and often are also really good festivals. Try to look for a film that's similar to yours and just see where that film played. So if you made a human rights documentary and you know this other human rights short film, look at where that film played and then use that as a first strategy point to submit your film to. I think that's kind of the first kind of indications to do. And really the thing, don't only submit to festivals on Film Freeway is, I think, really important, because these festivals get so many submissions. that it's more difficult to get in there. So really try to look outside of that bubble in a way. Yeah.
Yep, I think it was wonderful conversation, and I personally also learned a lot from you too. And I'm quite sure after this session, you too will get at least thousands email from young filmmakers from South Asia. So I'm so happy about that. Like at least I'm doing something for them. And thanks to Art House Asia Film Festival, because they're doing really great day by day. And I hope all the best for the festival and your festival and Walter's like sales journey. Maybe I'll knock you also.
Super.
Thank you so much. And I think this is the end. And thanks the audience who watched throughout the journey. And maybe we'll take a look of the questions also. Maybe they put some questions to the live sessions beneath. Yeah. Hi, Chapu. So it's done.
Yes, thank you everyone
Yeah.
for coming here. It was a lovely experience for everyone, and maybe you will receive questions, and let's continue the discussion on there.
Okay.
Bye.
Okay. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.